Alright, how's everyone doing tonight? Alright, tonight we are continuing our playthrough of Fate Stay Night, the Unlimited Blade Works route. Last we left off, Shirou and Reen were able to defeat Castor thanks to Lancer's help and a surprise backstab from Archer. Even though Archer has done several backstabbings at this point, but after he backstabbed Castor, he went about trying to backstab Shirou, and didn't quite go as planned. So he kidnapped Reen and is now holding her hostage, and Shirou has to go and fight Archer with some very strong suspicions about who Archer's identity really is. February 14th, Unlimited Blade Works, 15, after image. Interlude 15-1, Unlimited Blade Works. It's daybreak. The knight in red is leaning against the pillar and staring at his own arm. He puts strength into his fingertips and clenches his fist. Only about half of his sensations are left. Even though he is a heroic spirit, he cannot maintain his existence without a master that helps him stay in this world. Archer is existing because of a special ability that his class holds, but that is nearing its limit. The Knight in Red's remaining strength is less than a tenth of his original powers. His fist lacks strength, and he should slowly start fading if he lets his guard down. But there's no problem. Even if he only has a tenth of his powers remaining, it's enough to finish Shirou and Emiya off. Considering the difference in their abilities, this is not even a handicap. Therefore, it will end once they fight. His one and only objective will be accomplished here. Sorry, I'm not sure if contextually, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be the neutral voice or if this is Reen narrating. So I just assumed it was Reen. That's right. He's been waiting for this moment. He has endured the endless repetition, hoping for this chance. He'd only wait for a miracle that would not usually be able to occur, with a possibility close to zero. And his wish is granted. No, it's about to be granted. He does not care what awaits him afterwards. He will kill his own self with his own hands. That wish, which doesn't have enough of a future to be of hope, is what kept him going after he wore out.
長かったのか、それとも刹那に過ぎなかったのか。
He is an existence that disappears after each summoning to start with. His memory does not remain intact, whether he repeats that cycle 100 times or 1,000 times. Wait, so if he doesn't remember each time he summoned, how does he carry so much guilt over the things he's done as a counter guardian over and over again? It only stays in his body as knowledge. Oh. Heroic spirits know about other heroic spirits because they have accumulated knowledge. It is just like a book. Every time they are summoned, the book with its history is sent to its home. They remain in the house and read the books that are sent. What is troubling is that the one at the house does not know when those books are sent. The past or future does not matter. All the books are already in his room. His only way of measuring time is to read the records of his cleaning that he will carry out. Okay, so even if he doesn't remember doing the deeds, he understands that he did those deeds? It makes no difference whether it's an eternity or an instant. An eternity is an instant, and an instant is an eternity. Therefore, he does not know how rare this miracle is. He doesn't know whether it was the first time or 1,000th time he was summoned since he gained this hope. All he has is his unordered knowledge. The future, past, and present are all things that heroic spirits don't have.
来客か。邪魔は入らんというから来てやったのだがな。
The knight in red suddenly gets up. Did his ears hear an intruder? Footsteps echo through the castle that should be silent.
へえ、驚きだね、遠坂。半信半疑だったけど、本当にこんなところにいたんだ。
The voice echoes. The boy who entered rudely is Shinji Mato.
おっと、物騒な真似はなしだぜ、アーチャー。こっちはお前に用はないんだ。お前だって遠坂に用はないんだろ。ならここで殺し合うことはないんじゃない？
Shinji Mato walks over with light steps. Oh, okay, so Rin isn't narrating. He's looking at Rin Tosaka, who is tied to a chair. The girl doesn't say anything and stares at the intruder while being tied up. That must make him pleased. Shinji Mato licks his lips in satisfaction and walks to the girl.
Huh?
Shinji Mato glances in annoyance at the knight, who is staring down at him in silence.
何？やるっていうの？本気かよ。お前なんて相手になるわけないじゃんか。
Shinji Mato smiles and returns to the entrance. There stands the golden-haired boy, the 8th servant, Gilgamesh. Not sure I'd call him a boy. There's only so much of this version of Gilgamesh that I can respect, but you know, give him something that's more akin to his age. He himself is a disaster. The golden servant looks at the knight with cool eyes, but within them, the red eyes distorted from his smile only have the intention to murder the enemy in front of him. The knight in red is still silent. It makes no difference whether Shinji Mato appears or the strongest servant in front of him is ready to attack him. The knight calmly stares at the uninvited enemies.
ブルってるんだろ、アーチャー。いいんだぜ、別に恥じゃない。あいつはバーサーカーだって難なく始末したサーバントなんだからさ。お前がおじけづくのも当然。
リンが欲しいのか、マトシンジ。
え？ああ、当然じゃないか。そうでもなけりゃこんな城には近寄らないよ。
そうか。ならば事が済むまで待て。エミやシロを始末した後ならばくれてやる。それまであれは私のものだ。それが聞けぬとあれば仕方がない。不本意だがここで死ぬことになるぞ、ギルガメッシュ。
The knight in red declares, still staring at the golden serpent.
愉快だな、道化。
Was that statement itself good enough reason for the man to kill Archer? The golden servant identifies the knight in red in front of him as a target he must kill.
待て、ギルガメッシュ。早まるなよ。ことはスマートに行こう。いいじゃん。くれるってんだからもらっておこう。どうせアーチャーはマスターがいないんだ。何度も裏切ったこいつと契約するマスターなんていないんだしさ。ほっとけば消えるんだろう。遠坂はその後でもらえばいい。
Shinji Mato stares at the red knight, still smiling. But what he said is not far off because Backstabber's gonna backstab. His eyes look as if he's enjoying the fate of one who is about to disappear soon.
賢明だな、マトシンジ。その判断は的確だ。君はある意味誰よりもマスターにふさわしい。
なんだ、あんた見どころあるじゃん。もっ ったいない。それなら僕のところに来てれば契約してやったのに。
He replies, too dumb to understand sarcasm. Stepping away from the knight in red, Shinji Mato clasps his hands happily.
けど悪いね。もう他のサーバントなんていらないんだ。残念だけどさ。おとなしく消えちゃってよ、あんた。
Not that you can supply him with mana to keep him here in the first place.
言われるまでもない。それで結局どうするのだ？
ああ、待ってやるよ。エミヤを始末するまで遠坂は僕たちが守ってやろうじゃないか。けどそうだな。となるとあれはもう僕のだろう。なら何をしても構わないと思わない？
He looks at the knight in red and greet Tosaka with snake-like eyes. Those words test the loyalty of the knight in red. To that,
傷をつけるなというのがエミやシロとの契約だが、それは夜明けとともに消える。刻限が来たのならあとは好きにするがいい。
the knight in red answers in an emotionless voice. Who's lighting these candles in an abandoned castle?
聞いたかよ、遠坂。お前のサーバントマスターを売っ払うってさ。
Sneering laughter echoes through the dingy room. The Red Knight leaves the room as if he has no interest. He passes by Gilgamesh. He goes into the hallway, ignoring the red eyes that look at him amused. At that moment,
フェイカ
wrong class, buddy. The King of Heroes says, mocking him. Interlude out. Dawn approaches. Our conversation dies off as we head deeper into the woods, and the silence weighs heavily. Once I'm through the forest, I, Shirou Emiya, will settle the score with that man. I have no chance of victory. My defeat is certain. I'm well aware that I'll be slaughtered as soon as we cross swords. I don't feel fear, but not out of defiance or determination. I might die, but he's long dead. The moment I realized this, I knew that I was no different. There's no longer any point in feeling gloomy about my own death. I pass the castle gate. Saber's expression is dark. She knows what sort of fight awaits me. She's troubled by me, and by him. No matter who lives or falls, the same man will disappear. She's in anguish, unsure whether she should put a stop to this absurd duel. She glances skyward. Her eyes look severe, or perhaps angry that such a vain battle must be fought. We come to a great ruined hall. Morning mist shrouds the ground to be our mutual resting place.
来たか。随分と遅い到着だな、エミやシロ。
His icy voice rings through the air. Its familiar baritone comes from the second story. The man stands there atop crumbling stairs that culminate in a sunlit plateau. His crimson cloak seems distant and hazy. But I can see him. I can make out every exact detail of my enemy. We share the same eagle eyes, after all. He is the servant assigned the role of archer. He's a bowman, yet not a bowman, a contradictory person who possesses a vast number of noble phantasms and hurls them out unsparingly. All of his noble phantasms are replicas, and his personal noble phantasm is the ability to create infinite swords. I was the only one who failed to realize his identity. Heroic spirits are summoned from all eras. If the past doesn't contain an appropriate hero, then one might be summoned in, then one might be born in the future. I finally realized that there can't be two pendants. It's always
そう
been
だ。あれは命を救われたお前が生涯持ち続けたもの。この世に二つとない。遠坂凛の父の形見だ。
It's a paradox for two of them to coexist. If Shirou Emiya held on to the pendant for the rest of his life, then
英霊の召喚には必ず触媒が必要となる。お前がセイバーを召喚したように、召喚者と英霊にはつながりがなくてはならない。遠坂凛には英霊を呼び出すための触媒がなかった。故に彼女は呼び出したサーバントに何の縁もないと思い込んだ。だが偶然で呼び出される英霊などいない。召喚者と英霊には必ず物質的な縁が必要となる。
if that's true, then there's only one explanation. Tosaka didn't have anything to connect herself to Archer, but
そう。召喚者ではなく、呼び出された英霊そのものが召喚者に縁のあるものを持っていた場合のみだ。
that tiny gem, of which there is only one in the world. Someone saved my life, and I never found out who. But I kept the pendant with me, assuming it must have belonged to my savior. That's the answer. He had Tosaka's pendant, which makes him the heroic spirit Emiya. My future self. The man standing before me perfected Shirou Emiya's incomplete abilities and achieved my ideals. The red-clad knight looks down at me from the top of the stairs. There's no sign of anyone else around. Only he and I stand here in this hall. Archer, where's Tosaka?
あの小娘なら城のどこかに置いてきたが、気に病むのなら急げ。お前が来るのが遅いのでな。先に来た的を信じにくれてやったところだ。
So much for that, and so much for there not being anyone else here. You what?
お前との約束は守っている。俺は手出しはせん。他の人間が彼女に何をしようが、俺には関わりのないことだ。
I'm pretty sure doing nothing would still make you culpable.
まあ、結果は見えているがな。的真司は遠坂凛に情欲と敵がいを抱いている。あれに凛を預ければどうなるかは考えるまでもない。凛に挑発された小僧は我慢できずに口火を切り、今頃は妙なことになっているかもしれんぞ。
Oh, that's even worse. My blood boils. How can you just talk about her like that?
ああ、焦るな、坊主。あのお嬢ちゃんなら俺に任せろ。
Now there's some Irish words. There's some Irish vocabulary for you.
何？すぐに助け出してやる。
Huh? Lancer?
マスターからの命令だな。元から俺はあのお嬢ちゃんを死なせないために協力したわけだ。いや、これが思いのほか居心地よくてな。昨日のは悪くなかった。自分の仕事を気に入れるっていうのは俺にとっては珍しい。
With that flippant remark, Lancer ignores Archer and heads for the western terrace. Lancer.
気にするな。これはあくまで俺の趣味だ。ま、今までいけすかねえ命令ばっかりだったからな。この命令は最後まで守り抜く。そっちはそっちで自分の面倒だけ見てやがれ。
Yeah, take care of Tosaka. Lancer departs with an eye. But then, he stops and turns, as if remembering something.
おい、何してんだセイバー。お前も来るんだよ。
Saber looks pained.
いいえ、私はここに残ります、ランサー。
Her response isn't what you'd expect from a servant.
本気か？今のマスターはお嬢ちゃんだろ？サーバントが守るべきはマスターだけのはずだが。
分かっています。ですが、それでも私はここに残りたい。私は。
そうかよ。なら好きにしな。
Lancer disappears. The blue-clad spearman easily leaps up to the second-story terrace and disappears down the hallway without another glance. Archer doesn't make any move to stop him. Tosaka seems to have outlived her usefulness to him. I step forward through the rubble. I'm headed for the middle of the hall, at the bottom of the stairs. Saber stays where she is. She intends to watch us fight and keeps our emotions in check.
手出しはしないか。それはありがたい。ここまで来てセイバーに邪魔をされるようでは、リンと契約を切った意味がないからな。
I can hear her hesitate. She inhales slightly and answers the man standing at the top of the stairs.
ええ、私は手出しをしません。何があろうと、あなたとシロの戦いの邪魔はしない。
それは結構。ならば安心して、小僧を始末できるというものだ。
はい。ですが、その代わりに一つだけ答えてほしい。アーチャー。なぜあなたはシロを殺そうというのです？
なぜも何もないだろう。そいつが俺を認められないように、俺も。
そんなはずはない。あなたはシロだ。エミやシロという人物の理想、英雄となった姿があなたではないのですか？なら。
なぜそう思う？未熟だった頃のエミヤシロと、エミヤと呼ばれる英雄となった俺は、別の存在だ。そうでなければ、同時に存在などできないが。
Strangely enough, the Emiya isn't in all caps, for some reason.
それはあなたがサーバントになったからでしょ。時間軸にとらわれない守護者になったのなら、自身が生きた時代に呼ばれることもあると聞きます。
Where did you hear that from? No one considered that a possibility until just now.
あなたはシロだ。シロがずっと思い描いて、その努力が叶った姿があなたのはずだ。なのに、どうして？
Why did you turn out so differently? I can hear her anguished question, even if she doesn't say the words aloud. He starts down the stairs without answering. And he looks really mad about it. He can't answer. If he could, then we wouldn't be here trying to settle things by force.
アーチャー。
Saber challenges him without actually stepping forward. It's all right, Saber. You can back off. With one hand, I gesture for her to move back to the entrance.
ですが、シロ。
I appreciate the thought, really. But we're beyond words now. His only goal from the start has been to kill me. Saber bites her lip in distress. She looks at me, and then at Archer as she descends the stairs to the hall. As he descends the stairs to the hall.
なぜなのです、アーチャー。私にはわからない。守護者とは死後、英霊となって人間を守るものと聞いた。
守護者だと。
Archer stops and looks down at Saber emotionlessly. The word seems to have struck a nerve with him.
違うよ、セイバー。守護者は人間を守るものではない。あれはただの掃除屋だ。俺が望んでいた英雄などでは断じてない。
His voice changes. Hatred and scorn tinge his dispassionate tone.
アーチャー。
俺は確かに英雄になった。エミヤシロという男が望んでいたように正義の味方になったんだ。
A hero of justice. Someone who always does the right thing and doesn't let anyone get hurt. The kind of person Shirou Emiya has always wanted to be. but who doesn't retreat from any disaster and saves everyone equally. Is he saying that he achieved that ideal?
あーちゃん。
ああ、確かにいくらかの人間を救ってきたさ。自分にできる範囲で多くの理想を叶えてきたし、世界の危機とやらを救ったこともあったよ。英雄と遠い昔から憧れていた地位にさえついにはたどり着いたこともある。
英雄にたどり着いたなら、シローは報われたのですね。少なくともここにいるあなたはエミやシローの理想を叶えられたのでしょう。ならあなたには悔いなどないはずだ。シローはちゃんとその理想を叶えたのだから。
Her verbal challenge doesn't have much force behind it. She already knows. She's aware that her words are merely wishful thinking.
理想を叶えたか。確かに俺は理想通りの正義の味方とやらになったさ。だがその果てに得たものは後悔だけだった。殺して殺して殺し尽くした。己の理想を貫くために多くの人間を殺して、無関係な人間の命なぞどうでもよくなるくらい殺して、殺した人間の数千倍の人々を救ったよ。
Saber stares up at Archer in shock, almost as if she's looking into a mirror.
そう。そんなことを何度繰り返したかわからないんだ。セイバー、俺は求められれば何度でも戦ったし、争いがあると知れば死をとして戦った。何度も何度も。だって仕方がないだろう。何を救おうと救われない人間というものは出てきてしまう。何度戦いを終わらせようと新しい戦いは生み出される。そんなものがある限り正義の味方っていうのはあり続けるしかないんだから。
I wonder who his lecture is directed at. The knight describes his past as he slowly descends the stairs.
だから殺したよ。一人を救うために何十という人間の願いを踏みにじってきた。踏みにじった相手を救うためにより多くの人間をないがしろにした。何十という人間の救いを殺して、目に見えるものだけの救いを生かして、より多くの願いを殺してきた。今度こそ終わりだと、今度こそ誰も悲しまないだろうと、つまらない意地を張り続けた。だが終わることなどなかった。
Alright, I'm back.
生きている限り争いはどこに行っても目についた。キリがなかった。何も争いのない世界なんてものを夢見ていたわけじゃない。ただ俺はせめて自分が知り得る限りの世界では誰にも涙してほしくなかっただけなのだ。
Without a doubt, that was my very own dream.
一人を救えばそこから視野は広がってしまうんだ。一人の次は10人、10人の次は100人、100人の次はさて何人だったか。そこでようやく悟ったよ。
それはなぜ？
分かりきったことを聞くな、セイバー。君ならば何度も経験したことだろう。全ての人間を救うことはできない。国を救うためにほんの少しの人間を見殺しにするなんていうのは日常茶飯事だっただろう。
The Red Knight's words stunned Saber into silence, sapping her of the will to disagree. They must reflect Saber's inner darkness too.
そう、席は限られている。幸福という椅子は常に全体の数より少なめでしか用意されない。その場にいる全員を救うことなどできないから、結局誰かが犠牲になる。それを被害を最小限に抑えるために、いずれこぼれる人間を速やかに1秒でも早くこの手で切り落とした。それが英雄と、その男が理想と信じる正義の味方の取るべき行動だ。
A wish for no one to be sad. An ideal to save as many people as possible. If someone holds both of these ideals, then there's only one path to take once they contradict each other. A hero of justice can only save the people he's decided to save. If trying to save everyone means saving nobody, then saving as many people as you can with the minimum sacrifices is the right choice.
多くの人間を救うというのが正義の味方だろ。だから殺した。誰も死なさないようにと願ったまま、大勢のために一人には死んでもらった。誰も悲しまないようにと口にして、その陰で何人かの人間には絶望を抱かせた。そのうちそれにも慣れてきてね。理想を守るために理想に反し続けた。自分が助けようとした人間しか救わず、敵対した者は速やかに皆殺しにした。犠牲になる誰かを容認することでかつての理想を守り続けた。それがこの俺、英雄エミヤの正体だ。そら、そんな男は今のうちに死んだ方が世のためと思わないか？
He's right. A superhero can only save the people he's decided to save. However, who ended up betraying those words in the end?
それは嘘です。たとえそうなったとしても、あなたならばその誰かを自分にして理想を追い続けたのではないですか？
Archer stops again. For just an instant, a pained frown clouds his face.
あなたは理想に反したのではない。守ったはずの理想に裏切られ、道を見失っただけではないのですか？そうでなければ、こんな自分を殺すことで罪を償おうなどとは思わない。
His sardonic grin disappears. Archer fixes Saber with a cold glare and breaks into uproarious laughter, as if she just said something hilarious.
いや、これは傑作だ。俺が自分の罪を償う。バカなことを言うなよ、セイバー。償うべき罪などないし、他の誰にもそんな無責任なものを押し付けた覚えはない。
The Red Knight remains deadly calm. Only his low chuckle reverberates through the hall.
ああ、そうだったよ、セイバー。確かに俺は何度も裏切られ、欺かれた。救ったはずの男に罪をかぶせられたこともある。死ぬ思いで争いを収めてみれば、争いの張本人だと押し付けられて、最後に、そうだ、俺に罪があるというのなら、 その時点で償っているだろう。
嘘だ、アーチャー。あなたの最後は。
Generally can't be a heroic spirit unless you die at some point. Unless, of course, you become a pseudo-servant.
まあそういうことだ。だがそんなことはどうでもよかった。初めから干渉してほしかったわけじゃない。英雄などともてはやされる気もなかった。俺はただ誰もが幸福だという結果だけが欲しかっただけだ。だがそれが叶えられたことはない。
I guess there are other extenuating circumstances beyond just becoming a pseudo-servant, but no, that's a little deep.
生前もその死後。
His laughter is gone. Now his words are tinged only with hatred.
守護者とは霊長の存命のみを優先する無色の力だ。力は高きところにありて、人の世が滅亡する可能性が生じれば世に下る。それがただの奴隷であることは知っていた。死後己が存在を守護者に預けた者は輪廻の枠から外れ無と同意になるのだと。それでも誰かを救えるのならそれでいい。かつてのエミヤシロはその誓いを守れなかった。なら守護者となって人間の滅亡とやらを食い止める一体になるのならそれでいいと思ったんだ。だが実際は違う。守護者は人など救わない。守護者がすることはただの掃除だ。すでに起きてしまったこと、作られてしまった人間の業をその力で無にするだけの存在だった。それは人を救うのではなく世界に害を与えるであろう人々を善悪の区別なくなくすだけ。
Be they good or evil? How does that work? Oh.
絶望に嘆く人々を救うのではなく絶望と無関係に生を謳歌する部外者を救うために絶望する人々を排除するだけの殺戮者。馬鹿げた話だ。それが今までの俺と何が違う。
It's not different at all. In fact, it only created more despair. He couldn't make his dream come true on his own, so he devoted himself to a greater power. And he still ended up in the same place. He thought that a higher power might be able to grant his wish, but it was just a larger version of what he'd already been doing.
アーチャー、あなたはずっとそんなことを。
それも慣れたよ。人間は繰り返す。どんな時代でも強者が弱者を奪い尽くすのだ。そしてそれが最も効率のいい繁栄だと思い知らされた。ああ、何度も見てきた。意味のない殺戮も意味のない平等も意味のない幸福も俺自身が拒んでも見せられた。守護者となった俺にはもはや自分の意志などない。ただ人間の意志によって生み出され人間が作ってしまった罪の後始末をさせられるだけだったからな。
That's the conclusion he arrived at. An existence that erases the despair of other humans. An existence that erases the despair other humans make. Guardians don't save anyone. They just erase the existence of people who aren't saved. Over and over. Whenever they see humans do something that causes their own destruction, they show up and burn it all. The man became a hero, thinking he could save as many people as possible. But in the end, that wish never came true.
そうだ。それは違う。俺が望んだものはそんなことではなかった。俺はそんなもののために守護者になどなったのではない。
The rage in his voice is probably directed at himself. The man that stands before us is a worn-down wreck. The hero Emiya was perpetually shown the ugliness of the people he wanted to save. In the end, felt hatred. Hatred at his past self for valuing humans who just kept taking from each other.
俺は人間の後始末など真っ平だ。だが守護者となった以上この輪から抜け出す術はない。そう、ただ一つの例外を除いて。
His cold eyes gleam with unshakable bloodlust. They aren't looking at Saber. Archer's sole objective is to erase himself. However, ever since he died, he can't erase the original Emiya that exists in a place outside of the time axis. It's impossible to erase someone who's become a guardian. Guardians are of the void. There's no point in killing someone who doesn't exist on this world's axis. However, if it were possible, there would only be one way. If he were to kill himself before he became a hero, then that hero would never be born. Therefore,
シロをここで殺すというのですか。他でもない。あなた自身の手によって。
Therefore, if he killed himself, there would be no one to go. If he killed himself now, there would be no one to kill. There would be no one to kill himself in the future, and therefore nothing would change.
そうだ、その機会だけを待ち続けた。果てしなくゼロに近い確率だ。だがそれにかけた。そう思わなければ自身を許容できなかった。ただその時だけを希望にして。俺、
それは無駄です、アーチャー。あなたはすでに守護者として存在しているのでしょう。ならもう遅い。今になって英雄となる前のエミやシロを消滅させたところで、あなた自身は消えはしない。
そうかもしれん。だが可能性のない話ではあるまい。
Give it the old college try, I see.
過去の改ざんだけでは通じないだろうが、それが自身の手によるものならば矛盾は大きくなる。歪みが大きければ、あるいはここでエミヤという英雄は消滅する。それになせば俺はこの時だけを待って守護者を続けてきたのだ。今さら結果など求めていない。これはただの八つ当たりだ。くだらぬ理想の果てに道化となり果てるエミヤシロという小僧へのな。
And then, the Red Knight steps into the same hall that I'm in. Only he and I stand amid the rubble. No obstacles separate us. Our reasons for being here are simple. He wants to kill me, and I can't stand him, so I'm going to kick his butt. I step into the center of the hall. A few more steps, and there will be no going back. Before that, Archer, do you regret it? There's one question I need to ask him.
無論だ。俺、いや、お前は正義の味方になどなるべきではなかった。
He spits the words out like venom. That's the last push I needed. I see. Then we're two different people.
何？
I don't regret anything. No matter what happens, I won't regret this path. That's why we'll never accept you. If you claim to be my ideal self, then I'll strike down those flawed ideals with my own hands. That's how I've lived. I've come this far believing that it was right. It probably is mostly pride, like he said. I've lost more than I've gained. But still, Shirou Emiya won't back down, not even for what he's lost. I advance. A circuit in the back of my mind has already begun to sketch a blueprint.
その考えがそもそもの元凶なのだ。お前もいずれ俺に追いつく時が来る。
The heck I will!
はあ。それはつまり、その前にここで俺に殺されるということか。
I step towards my enemy. We're close enough to cross swords now. Neither of us are armed. We're going to go at it barehanded. Shirou Emiya isn't a swordsman. We make swords, so...
分かっているようだな。俺と戦うということは、牽制を競い合うということだと。
His hands grip a pair of swords. That night, that simple pair of blades that took my breath away at Ryudo Temple. They were rare masterworks, forged by a famous smith at the cost of his wife's life. Trace on. Begin projection. I initiate my prepared blueprint and replicate the swords just by visualizing them. They're so flawed. My swords, which I thought were perfect, are terribly vague compared to his. My inferior imagination has produced a degraded delusion. Most likely, they'll shatter against his swords. I take another step forward. A deliberate, firm step. Rubble crumbles beneath my feet. The sound seems to declare the start. The sound seems to declare a start to the duel.
俺の牽制についてこれるか。わずかでも精度を落とせば、それがお前の死に際になろう。
Our swords confront each other. An identical pair of weapons, 4 blades overlap as if attracted by magnetic force and clash. Interlude 15-2 Unlimited Blade Works. He easily tracks his target down. Lancer may seem as if he specializes in combat, but he is actually quite skilled at magecraft. He learned to master more than just gay bulk in that arcane fortress called the Land of Shadows. He is a hero because he learned the 18 primordial runes. Of course, he rarely flaunts his magical skills because he prefers to fight with a spear rather than magecraft. Today is one of those rare occasions.
よし、当たりか。
He drops something which has been running around on the ground. A rock inscribed with the Berkana rune returns to being a mundane pebble, its task complete.
誰だお前。
A boy he hasn't seen before stands up in a panic. The shrill voice sounds familiar. Lancer retracts that thought and realizes who this is.
ライダーのマスターじゃねえか。なんだ、とっくの昔にくたばったもんと。
He breaks off. Wait, when would he have met Shinji and Ryder? Tosaka is behind the boy. Oh no, wait, that's right. He's his master has had him spying on several of the servants, gaining intel. Why am I saying his master? We all know who it is. It's the same guy as from the Fate route. She's tied to a chair. That's fine. She's being held captive, so that makes sense. But several details stand out. First, her chair is tipped over. Since Rin Tosaka is tied to the chair, she's on the ground too. There's sand in her long black hair and something red around her mouth. She probably cut her lip. It's slight, but one can make out bruisings around her lips.
お前、ランサーか。なんだよ。誰に断ってここに来たんだ。話が違うぞ。お前は。
A casual fist plants itself in Shinji Mato's cheek. Lancer's trivial backhand sends the boy crashing into a wall.
おお、ああ悪いなガキ。口より先に手が出ちまった。
And it was the back of his hand. He looks unconscious but not dead. Granted, if Rin Tosaka's face had been a little paler and her clothes more disheveled, it wouldn't have ended it with just a knockout. He would have paid a heavy price. To be clear, Lancer doesn't care about the treatment of prisoners, but he doesn't like it when someone else steals his prey. Of course, enemies he kills and women he's fond of both count as his prey. Rin Tosaka wonders aloud from her bound position. Her voice sounds sleepy, as if she was unconscious.
いや、朝だぜ。起きろ、ぐうたら。
Lancer approaches her with an out-of-place greeting.
なんでここアインツベルンの城よ。
承知している。ああ、いいから動くな。今その手枷を切ってやる。その後は好きにしろ。広間に行ってバカどもの喧嘩を止めるなり、裏口から帰るのも自由だ。
His crimson spear materializes in a whirl of air.
それは助かるけど。ランサー、後ろ。
Rin's warning makes him turn.
な、に
Someone even he didn't expect stands there. In the corner of the room, with firm footsteps, a man walks past where Shinji Mata pancaked into the wall.
そこまでだ
My
ラン
God,
サー。
pansy!
協力しろとは言ったが、深入りしろとは言わなかったぞ。
Kirei Kotomine, who they thought Castro killed.
キレ
Look, who thought Castro killed? Because we all know there was no body, and if there's no body, there's no death. Reed yelps in surprise. Lancer glares suspiciously at the priest.
おい、いつから終始買いしやがってんだお前。俺のマスターは表には出てこないのが心情だったんじゃなかったか。
変えるような収支などない。そういうお前こそ命令違反だぞランサー。アーチャーの始末を命じたはずだが、仕損じたか。
あれは放っといても自滅する。その前にやり残した仕事を片付けに来たんだが、お前がここにいるということは、そこのガキはお前の差し金か。
人聞きが悪いな。彼とは協力関係だ。聖杯を手に入れるため、共に認め合った仲だが。
Shinji Mata groans underneath the rubble. The priest doesn't even spare him a glance.
そう。あんたがそう簡単にくたばるわけないと思ったけど、しぶとく生きてるばかりか。裏でこそこそ手を回してたのね。悪趣味ここに極まるっていうか、人畜無害な神事を懐柔してどうしようっていうのよ、キレ。
Probably the fact that he's harmless makes him that much easier to manipulate.
なるほど。あれを人畜無害と取るか。この状況においてもお前は遠坂凛らしい。もう少し出来の悪い弟子ならば惜しむこともないのだが。
The priest chuckles. His expression is that of a priest blessing someone on their deathbed. Chill runs down Reed's back. She realizes what her fate is. The priest looks down at his apprentice of 10 years with a saintly smile.
待てよ、琴峰。その女はどうするつもりだ。教え子を助けたいと言ったお前の言葉は嘘だったのか。
Lancer stands between his master and the girl, glaring.
嘘なものか。彼女はここまで育てた大切な駒だ。10年にわたり欺き続けたのだから、そう簡単ゆえにお前に彼女の警護を任せたのだ。わずか2日ばかりの延命だったが、親心としては十分すぎるのではないか。
The priest walks past Lancer to look at the girl sprawled on the floor. Green glares up at her former mentor.
エセ神父。あんたならやりかねないと思ったけど、本当にマスターだったなんてね。監督役のくせにゲームに参加するなんて、反則もいいところじゃない。
Oh, you think that's bad? Wait till you hear about his second servant, and the vast reserve of command spells he has at his disposal.
その割には落ち着いているな、リン。やはり気づいてはいたのか。
当然でしょ。 自分のサーバントを見せなかったのもあんたを疑ってたからだもの。けどね。
初めから。
The priest frowns. It seems that he wasn't expecting her to say that.
何よ。文句あるっていうの？キレ。
いや、初めからというが、それはどのあたりを指しているのかと思ってな。
His lips twist into a sneer. The priest gazes down with a look of true elation.
まった。キレ、あんた。
それは今回の聖杯戦争が始まってからか。それともお前が言う初めからとは前回の聖杯戦争を言っているのかね。
Then everything falls into place. Reed's face goes pale, and she stares up at the man who mentored her for 10 years with an incredulous look.
そう。殺したのはあんただったんだ。
当然だろう。恩師であったからな。騙し討ちはたやすかった。
There's a grinding noise. The girl is staring at the ground, gritting her teeth in anger.
行き場に迷えクソ神父。断言してやるけど、あんたに居場所なんてないんだからね。地獄だってあんたみたいなのは願い下げで、煉獄だって他の連中がずぶとくなる点でたらい回しよ。あんたみたいな生き損ないはね、性に合わない天国あたりで針のむしろにくるまってろっての。
In a rage, she hurls abuse after abuse at him. Wait till you hear what he wait till you hear what he did with a murder weapon. Of course, the priest is unbothered by such trifles. Someone else is taken aback by the girl's sudden fit, however. Shinji has never imagined that Rin could bear such emotion, even in his dreams.
琴峰、遠坂は僕がもらったんだって知ってるだろ。あいつに用があるのは僕だけだ。あんたはただ教会でこっちの守備を待ってればいいんだよ。
いや、用ならばあれ。彼女にはここで聖杯になってもらわねばならないからな。
Shinji doesn't understand what the priest is saying. Only the priest and the girl he intends to sacrifice do.
アーチャーとセーバーが消えればいい加減頃合いだ。いらぬ抵抗をされ鮮度を落とされても困る。ことは迅速に済ませてしまおう。
The priest steps away from the girl. Only Lancer is in front of Reed now, armed with a spear.
琴峰、貴様。
そのゴミを始末しろ、ランサー。器に心臓はいらん。
Hang on for a minute. Only Shinji reacts to those words. Green just glares at the priest, gnashing her teeth. The priest's smile already told her that she is going to die here. She knows that no help is coming and that no one would hear her even if she begged for help. So she absolutely refuses to snip. It's the only form of resistance she can offer, and it represents her defiance. She won't give up until the very end. Help might still come at the last possible second, or a miracle might even occur, like something that destroys the entire room, leaving only her intact.
ありえない話だけど。
She won't give up, but she knows what is and isn't possible. That's why she isn't very scared. There's just one thing she's worried about. It's awkward to imagine what face he'll make when he comes to save her after she's dead. She doesn't want to make him cry. It ticks her off thinking that she'll make him cry, and she doesn't know how to apologize for it. Of course, she can't apologize if she's dead, but she still doesn't want him to cry.
ごめん、レミヤ君。私、先にリタイアする。
So she apologizes now while she still can. It doesn't matter, but it at least makes her feel more at ease.
どうしたランサー。相手は少女。貫くのはたやすかろう。
The priest has no mercy. However,
お断りだ。今回のは従えねえ。俺にやらせたかったらその霊樹でも使うんだな。
Lancer answers Reen's enemy with defiance.
何？
The priest narrows his eyes. Master and servant glare daggers at each other, and the temperature in the room seems to drop.
そうか。仕方あるまい。自分でできることに霊樹を消費するわけにはいかんのだ。
The priest lifts his left arm. He activates the command spells inscribed on it.
では命じよう。自害しろランサー。
Lancer coughs blood, but the red droplets that dribble from his mouth pale in comparison to the torrent of blood gushing from his chest.
ことみね。貴様。
His murmur can't even be heard. Lancer has stabbed himself through the chest with his own spear, completely destroying his heart.
さらばだ。お前の役目はとうに終わっている。
Wait, have we ever seen a sprite of him with all of his command spells on his left arm? The azured armor spearman collapses to the floor. Pooling scarlet seeps into the floor. Lancer shows no sign of getting up. He has fallen by his own spear on his master's orders. The priest moves. He approaches Reen with easygoing steps and takes a knee next to her. He reaches out with a hand to the bound girl's chest as if to pluck her heart out.
ことみね。約束が違うじゃないか。遠坂は僕にくれるって言っただろう。
The priest glances at Shinji without answering.
ダメだ。遠坂はダメだ。そいつには借りがいっぱいあるんだから。生きていてくれなくちゃ困る。
Shinji winds his back to Lancer's corpse. But his protests die off. The boy cowers away from the priest's severe gaze. The priest looks back down at the girl.
最後に何か言い残すことはあるか。遺言ぐらいは聞こう。
A simple concession.
こういう時の私が何を考えているか、あんたなら知ってるはずでしょ。
I'm thinking how this game is still rated T on the Nintendo eShop after that rant. Reed answers him in her usual tone.
そうだな。最後まで諦めないのがお前だ、リン。同時に覆らない現実を瞬時に認めるのもお前の素晴らしさだ。いいぞ。その矛盾はなかなかに芳醇だ。
He doesn't hesitate. The priest roughly shoves his hand into the girl's chest, over where her heart would be. She closes her eyes. There's a stabbing sound. A heart is pierced, and blood spills out. The stone room becomes a tomb for yet another dead body. Reen is the one who gasps. The floor is drenched in blood. The dripping comes from somewhere high up. From the floor, Reen looks up to see that it's coming from the priest's chest. Blood rises from his esophagus. The hole in his chest is obviously a fatal wound, and the thing that stabbed him from behind is none other than a cursed spear known especially for piercing. The priest feels no emotion. He simply looks at Lancer behind him, blood running from his mouth.
ランサー、貴様、
あいにくだったなことみね。この程度でくたばれるんならよ、俺は英雄になんぞなってね
え。To paraphrase the to paraphrase UBW abridged, battle continuation, fool! Lancer's sardonic tone clearly sounds like a bluff. There isn't a hint of vitality in it. Without a heart, his body is already starting to fade. He pulls a spear out of Kotamine, who collapses lifelessly to the ground. Trained in the arcane and blessed by the divine he might have been, but he was still only human. There was no surviving a thrust to the heart from Lancer's cursed spear.
たく、結局こうなったか、たけ。
Lancer leans his crumbling body against the wall, but it buys him little time. After collapsing once, he's bound to disappear for good. He's lost his heart and his master. The only reason his body is somehow still holding together is because of his legendary tenacity.
いいじゃんいいじゃん。バカどもは勝手に殺し合ってたよ。
シンジ。
Shinji's cackling brings Rin back to her senses after watching the priest die, and still wondering why there's organ music playing.
何が聖杯は君のものだ。だよ。役立たずは最後まで役立たずだったな、神父さん。
Again, rated T on the Nintendo eShop. Shinji kicks the priest's body. It doesn't move at all. Pleased with himself, the boy kicks the priest's face as hard as he can, making a dry crunching noise. The sound and sensation delight Shinji more than he expected.
けど文句は言わないでおくよ。さっきのことは根に持ってないし、死んじゃったやつにあれこれ言うのはみっともないしさ。
Shinji snickers. Having lost all reservations, he closes in on Rin eagerly.
待たせたね、遠坂。いろいろ邪魔が入ったけど、これでようやく二人きりだ。残るサーバントもあと3人。ここで君が泣き疲れた頃には、全部型がついてるさ。
Shinji scrambles forward on all fours like a lizard looming over Rin.
けどよかった。お前にはいろいろ用があったんだ。ほんと困るよ、遠坂。簡単に死なれちゃあさ。ここまで我慢してきた僕に申し訳がないってもんだろ。さあ、こびてみろよ、遠坂。お前の態度次第で助けてやらないこともないぜ。それに聖杯はもう僕のものだ。ここで僕のものになるって言うなら、
呆れた。本当にバカじゃないの、あんた。
Tied up and on the ground, Rin scoffs like she's talking to a child.
なんだって？
まだ懲りないのかって言ってるのよ、シンジ。あんたは綺麗にいいように使われてただけでしょ。いい？あのサーバントは扱いきれるものじゃない。そんなこと近くにいるんだからあんただって分かってるでしょ。ならいい加減目を覚ましてこんな殺し合いから手を引けっていうの。今ならまだ間に合うのはそっちの方よ。死にたくなかったら1秒でも早くここから逃げ出しなさい。
何を言い出すかと思えば結局は命乞いじゃんか。バカはお前だよ、遠坂。目障りな琴峰は死んだんだぜ。今さら何が僕の邪魔をするって言うんだ。
Shinji reaches for Rin's body, but the second he does, he goes flying for a second time. Shinji slams into the wall again.
ガキが、そいつはてめえなんかが触れていい女じゃねえ。
Lancer glances at Shinji and lazily walks over to Rin. Battle continuation, fool!
死に損ないの分際で僕に意見しようっていうの？
The The spearman stops. He turns and faces Shinji.
おとなしく寝ていれば苦しまずに死ねたってのにな。さっきといい今度といい。お前、ほら出番だぜギルガメッシュ。こいつカッコつけて死にたいんだってさ。
Shinji raises his voice. He calls for his servant, the mightiest slayer of heroes.
おい、なんだよ。何やってんだよあいつ。聞こえないのか。早く来いって言ってるだろ。
His voice rings out. The golden servant does not appear. The bloody blue spearman takes a step towards Shinji.
くそくそくそくそくそ。なんだよお前。死に損ないのくせに何かっこつけてんだよ。消えろよ。目障りだってわかんないのかよこの化け物。
Again, rated T on the Nintendo eShop. A strike whips out. A single, precise strike, like a flash of light, stabs Shinji in the right shoulder. Gable, you had one job! His scream fills the room. Lancer withdraws his spear, looking bored. He puts his face in front of Shinji's.
うせろ。死に損ないでもな。お前程度なら1000人殺したところで支障はない。
Then why don't you? Your spear is known for piercing the heart. Why would you miss at point blank range? Hugging the wall and cowering away from the spear pointed at him, Shinji leaves the room in a mad scramble. That's one generous way of putting it.
たく、無駄な体力使わせやがって。
With a heavy sigh, Lancer walks back over to Reen. The wind-cutting spear severs her bindings like tissue paper.
ありがとう。助かったわ、ランサー。
Reen thanks him for her freedom. She bows to Lancer, ignoring the filth around them.
ま、成り行きだからな。礼を言われる筋じゃねえ。
Suddenly, he collapses limply.
ランサー
Reen can't catch him in time. Lancer's too weak to even lean against the wall now, and he slumps to the ground. His legs won't move. His limbs were already long dead. It seems nonsensical that he managed to stand up, kill his master, and set Reen free, and make Shinji run off like a pansy. A sudden cough of blood stains his blue armor further.
待ってて、すぐに傷を塞ぐから。
Reen rushes over to the bloody spearman, but he stops her with a hand.
無駄だ。俺のゲイボルクで破壊された心臓は簡単には治らん。大体な、そんな余分なマルカ残ってねえだろお前。
けどそれじゃ。
まあ気にするな。こういうのには慣れてる。英雄ってのはな、いつだって理不尽な命令で死ぬものなんだからよ。
His easygoing tone is the same as it always is. Even seconds away from death, the spearman doesn't change the way he acts. Reen stands up wordlessly. Seeing that, Lancer breathes a sigh of relief, as if a weight was lifted from his shoulders.
いや、お互いつまんねえ相棒を引いちまったな。
Didn't get to know your first partner real well.
そうね。けど私のはつまんないっていうより扱いづらいだけだったかな。
違いない。お前のような女が相棒だったら言うことはなかったんだが、あいにく昔っからいい女とは縁がなくてな。
I mean, they're Skahawk.
まったく、こればっかりは何度繰り返しても治らねえみてえだ。
He chuckles dryly, and then
さあ、早く行け。こいつは、お前はお前の相棒のところに戻らないと。
the spearman urges the girl to leave. He prepares Anzus, the fire rune, in his hand. As soon as he inscribes it on the ground and charges it with all of his remaining magical energy, it'll burn the entire room to cinders. Reed understands his determination and turns to
さよ
leave.
ならランさん。短い間だったけど、私もあなたみたいな人は好きよ。
She runs off to the great hall.
小娘がもうちょっと年取って出直してこい。
Or, you know, maybe you can meet up again in some super AI, super advanced computer on the moon. A hearty guffaw escapes his lips. Flames engulf him. The blaze consumes Lancer and his master's body. Not a trace is left behind. Like a mirage, the crimson spear and azure armor disappear into the flames. Interlude out. Identical swords clash. Shirou Emiya and the man's attacks are completely equal. Yet each time they clash, my blades break and I'm wounded badly. I'm cut deeply by attacks I should have intercepted. His concho shatters my concho and cuts me open in a slide. His concho shatters my concho and cuts me open in a sidelong slash. I desperately try to avoid the attack, but I can't. The wound isn't fatal, but it lacerates my muscles and will probably become a critical injury. Dang it! I fight back the pain and try to knock the enemy's Bakuya out of his right hand. What? He shatters my weapon and blocks me there too. Our swords and skills should be the same, but I'm facing an insurmountable wall.
お前の感想と俺の感想が同等とでも思ったか。お前はまだまだ基本骨子の想定が甘い。いかにイメージ通りの外見材質を保とうが構造に利がなければ崩れるのは当然だ。イメージといえど筋が通ってなければ瓦解する。
Simultaneously, he unleashes attacks to cut open my flank and my forehead. I immediately project a pair of swords to parry with. I have a headache so bad it nearly blinds me. It isn't from the burn of the projection. It's that headache from before. The hunch I had when I was looking for Tosaka. The fever I get every time I face him. This time it's the greatest burden yet, and it's driving my body crazy. I fend off slash after slash. I attempt to cut him down in return. And each time, the red headache burns my eyes. Is it the contradiction of Shirou Emiya and heroic spirit Emiya existing at the same time? Since the moment we recognized each other, my body has felt off every time we made contact. I traced his swordsmanship and even acquired his replication skills. It makes sense that I picked it up quickly. After all, his skills are the most optimal combat techniques for Shirou Emiya, honed over years of experience. How could I not take to them quickly? How could I not take to them quickly? In trying to catch up to him, I've learned things about my future self that I shouldn't have. My eyes go numb. Each swing of a sword, each shower of sparks creates flashes of light, robbing me of my vision. My skills can't keep up, and each attack dyes my vision red. I wouldn't mind if that's all this was. My body is already torn to shreds. A headache is nothing compared to the feeling of having my stomach torn open with a branding iron. The problem is the headache won't stop as long as there's something else to draw out of him. The problem is the headache won't stop as long as there's something else to draw out from him.
都合5本目だな。投影による複製ではそろそろ限界か。お前の魔力量はよくわかっている。そのざまでは残り3本。わざわざあれを見せてやったというのに、未だそんな勘違いをしているとはな。
I hear a hint of disappointment in his taunts. The wrong idea? As if that matters right now. More importantly, I need to do something about this headache. It's coming from you.
ともあれ、至ったところで不可能ではあるか。今のエミやシローが生成できる魔力では足りない。そう、どちらにせよ。
My headache worsens. He brandishes his swords as if to settle this once and for all.
貴様に賞賛など一部たりともなかったということだ。
And brings his swords down on my head in a crisscross slash. I raise my swords to defend and they shatter. My body goes numb like it's been pounding with a sledgehammer, and the headache burns not just my eyeballs, but my brain. It's flowing in. So, this right now is even scarier than the pain. They're his memories. The reason he's changed so much. I'm seeing fragments of the events that Shirou Emiya will experience in the future. I don't know if they're right or wrong. I'm sure nobody can be the judge of that. Beautiful things were ugly, and ugly things were beautiful. Objectively, there was nothing repulsive about them. So what made him go astray? Sophistry, misrepresentation, treachery, narcissism? Those make up most of what I saw. I am the bone of my sword. And yet, he didn't seem to mind. He swore oaths and had ideals to uphold. He didn't care what he lost. Even if others betrayed him, he believed that there would be a future as long as he didn't betray himself. If he never complained or even showed himself getting hurt. Steel is my body and fire is my blood. Then to the people around him, he was no different from a machine. He was useful to have around, so they used him. They only saw him as a tool. But even a machine can have ideals to uphold, so he accepted being treated as a convenient tool. I have created over 1,000 blades, unknown to death, nor known to life. It wasn't something he could tell anyone else. The more he failed to save people and the more people he killed, the less he could profess his ideals. Eventually, his only option was to stick to them as resolutely as he could. The result? Shirou Emiya failed to uphold the ideals he dreamed of even once, and learned that he was a nuisance spouting foolish drivel. Have withstood pain to create weapons. Look, this was his fate. Look, this is where you'll end up. My heart breaks. Don't feel sorry for him. 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 My heart feels like it's going to break when I know that this is the path that awaits me. Yet those hands will never hold anything. Everything you believed in, everything you believe in, after you were shown that it was all a lie and fanciful dream, you still... We clash again. This time he comes straight for my heart, not with the dual swords, but some spike-legged sword. Gah! I retreat to gain some distance. I'm holding a sword I replicated in the spur of the moment. I fight against the nausea. What did I just see? Forget it. Forget you saw anything. I just need to defeat him now. I can't afford to dwell on anything else.
計算違いか。前世の自分を高齢、憑依させることで、かつての技術を習得する魔術があると聞くが、俺と打ち合うたびに、 お前の技術は鍛えられていくようだな。
Panting, I ready myself for his next strike.
となると引き出したものは投影技術だけではあるまい。その顔、今にも吐きそうな最低の面構えからするとお前も見たな。
He holds his breath. Don't make me say it. Don't make me remember. If you tell me what I just saw...
ならば話は早い。それは全て事実だ。エミヤしろ。
The red club flutters. In an instant, he closes the gap and thrusts the spike at me. My weapon is destroyed in one blow. A sword I hastily projected for the first time can't hold up against his weapons. And yet, he throws aside his weapon while I'm unarmed. The next projection is Durando, said to be a sword of conquerors. I skip 4 counts and instantly project a replica of his weapon. Of course, my imitation is broken with one attack. I've fallen. I was pushed back and fell backward onto the rubble. And then I'm surprised. Just that fall was enough to stain the rubble red. Huh? I just never noticed that my body is dead both inside and out.
そこまでだ。叶わないと知ってなおここに現れる愚かさ。生涯くだらぬ理想にとらわれ、自らの意志を持たなかったまがいもの。それが自身の正体だと理解した。
His voice resounds, covered in wounds. Each of them is deep enough to sink a finger into. I'm seriously screwed.
そんなものに生きている価値はない。何よりこの俺が確信しているのだ。エミやシロウという男の人生に価値などない。ただ救いたいから救うなど、そもそも感情として間違えている。人間として故障したお前は初めからあってはならない偽物だった。
I have almost no magical energy left. To make matters worse, my magic circuits are burning. They've been burning since yesterday's projection, actually. Something that was about to break is now completely broken, that's all. But my body protests that I can still fight. I've just been playing tough, pretending that my broken heart is whole. So, I need to stand up and beat him.
無駄なこと。俺はお前の理想だ。叶うはずなどないと、今ので理解できたはずだが。
I invest what remains of my consciousness into all of my circuits. My nerves splinter and scream. Within myself, I weave together 8 counts without skipping a beat. Trace on. Begin projection. I acquire his dual swords, Kanchu and Bakuya, a pair of masterworks forged by an ancient smith. I swing. I'll keep attacking over and over with all my remaining strength until I burn out. Dual swords need dual swords to intercept them. Archer switches weapons to Kanchu and Bakuya, then defends against my combo without taking a single step back.
そうか。認めるわけにはいかないのは道理だな。俺がお前の理想である限り、エミやシロウは誰よりも俺を否定しなければならない。
His calm words take me off. He just keeps quipping at me while I can hardly even breathe. Darn you! I attack desperately. He locks our swords together without parrying me. I'm being pushed back, weapons and all. There's a vast gap in our physical strength. I don't have a chance of winning a pushing match.
では聞くがな、シロ。お前は本当に正義の味方になりたいと思っているのか？
For an instant, the sudden question makes my mind go blank. What kind of question is that? I don't want to become one. I will become one. I put my muscle into it and glare right back at him. And he answers,
そう。絶対にならなければならない。なぜならそれは、エミやシロウにとってただ一つの感情だからだ。たとえそれが自身の内から現れたものでないとしても。
His heart-wrenching words stopped me in my tracks. What? It's a desire that didn't come from within me. I deny it before I even consider what that means. I can't let him make me say it. I can't realize what he means. Deep down, I know that if I comprehend what he means, then Shirou Emiya's very foundation will crumble away.
ほう。その様子では、うすうす感づいてはいたようだな。いや、初めから気づいていて、それを必死に遠ざけていただけだったのか。今の俺では、思い出すことさえできないが。
No. I clamp my lips shut. I don't want to know. I know that I shouldn't know. Still, I finally realize that I have to know it. Shirou Emiya's paradox. The answer to what my mistake was and what's wrong with me.
俺には、もはやお前の記憶などない。だが、それでもあの光景だけは覚えている。一面の炎と充満した死の匂い。絶望の中で助けを請い、叶えられた時の感情。エミやキリツグという男の、俺を助け出した時に見せた安堵の顔を。
I'd accepted my death, and my heart was empty. Then someone saved me. My rescuer smiled at me with tears in his eyes. When I saw that, I thought that he looked so happy.
そうだ。お前はただ一人助けられたことで、助けられなかった人々に後ろめたさを感じていたわけじゃない。ただ、エミやキリツグに憧れただけだ。あの男の、お前を助けた顔があまりにも幸せそうだったから、自分もそうなりたいと思っただけ。
Right. Back then, I wasn't the one who was saved. I consider a thought that I'd been avoiding. If Kiritsugu caused that fire, then the guilt would have been unbearable. It was a tragedy without a single survivor. Kiritsugu must have searched for survivors like a man possessed. And then he found one when none were expected. He found a child that should have been beyond helping, who shouldn't even have been alive. What a miracle that must have felt like. But I understood that he saved me. I didn't know his circumstances. It was good enough for me that someone rescued me from that nightmare. Even if the emotion was directed at himself, his will to save me and the earnestness of wishing for someone to be saved were all genuine. And that was enough. It was enough for me that Kiritsugu Emiya saved me after I'd become nothing.
そう。子が親に憧れるのは当然だ。だが、お前はそれが行き過ぎた。エミやキリツグに、エミやキリツグがなりたかったものに憧れるだけならよかった。だが、最後に奴はお前に呪いを残した。言うまでもないだろう。それがお前の全てだと言ってもいい。
Your dream, huh? That was the answer. A man even emptier than me heard my innocent words, entrusted his wish to me in relief, and passed away. From that moment on, Shirou Emiya had no choice but to become a hero of justice. My own feelings didn't matter. All I needed to do was become the person I looked up to, for the sake of someone I looked up to when I was young. The wish for everyone to be happy was an impossible one. which came from Kiritsugu, not me.
気づいているのだろう、シロ。お前の理想はただの借り物だ。エミやキリツグという男がなりたかったもの、エミやキリツグが正しいと信じたものを真似ているだけに過ぎない。
I grit my teeth and desperately try to bolster my breaking heart. And yet...
正義の味方だと笑わせるな。誰かのためになるとそう繰り返し続けたお前の思いは決して自ら生み出されたものではない。そんな男が他人の助けになるなどと思い上がりも甚だしい。
His blades cut through the air. His swings, filled with reproach, rained down on me with unprecedented aggression. As I watch the raging flurry of blows, I accept that I'm going to die here, just like I did 10 years ago. Impact after impact pounds me down. Once beautiful swordsmanship has deteriorated into brute force. Ah! My left arm trembles after blocking the strikes. The shock out of it has broken my fingers still holding the sword. I scrounge up every bit of mental focus I have left to create a concho and just barely deflect another slash. He's got me. His first assault already pushed me to near death. I won't survive this next barrage of blows. Ah! Yet somehow, my heart is broken, but my body denies him with all its might. It screams that he's wrong. Like a part of me earnestly feels like it's wrong to admit he's right and let myself die here. I look up. My eyes aren't working. They don't see my enemy. They only replay his memories. Within them, there's an image of me huddled up like a turtle in its shell, trying desperately to survive. I hear more than the sounds of blades clashing. It's him. With each attack, he berates himself.
そうだ。誰かを助けたいという願いが綺麗だったから憧れた。
I take his sword strikes again and again. Bakuya is broken. Concho is my last lifeline.
ゆえに自身からこぼれ落ちた気持ちなどない。これを偽善と言わず何という。
Concho breaks and my life begins to peter out. My chest hurts. Shirou Emiya's heart is torn apart, not by the waterfall of sword strikes, but by Archer's words.
この身は誰かのためにならなければならないと脅迫観念に突き動かされてきた。それが苦痛だと思うことも破綻していると気づく間もなく、ただ走り続けた。
Denial after denial. With each rejection, I lose my will to fight. My body already wants to retire, unable to take the physical shock. And yet, that very same body keeps denying him desperately.
だが、所詮は偽物だ。そんな偽善では何も救えない。いいな。もとより何を救うべきかも定まらない。
I think that anything has one more wine than it should. Gah! I'm sent flying. I sail through the air, not unlike during the encounter with Berserker. But I plant my feet. His blow threatened to send me tumbling into the rubble, but I stay my ground with all my might. My body knows. It's stubbornly refusing to fall because it knows it can't get up again once it does. I plant my broken concho on the ground and use it to support my weight. I pitch forward, nearly falling over, and I can't get up. I brace myself against Concho with both hands, holding onto it like a walking stick. Honestly pathetic. From the side, I might even look like I'm kneeling before him.
その理想は破綻している。自身より他人が大切だという考え、誰もが幸福であってほしい願いなど空想のおとぎ話だ。そんな夢を抱いてしか生きられないのであれば、抱いたまま溺死しろ。
flipping. No, he said that my entire life was worthless. My weapons are gone. It's futile to even stand up. Meanwhile, he doesn't even look winded, much less wounded. This duel is decided. No, it was from the very beginning. There was no way Shirou Emiya could ever match the heroic spirit Emiya. But this is wrong too. If the gap in our abilities was truly that large, then this silly scuffle wouldn't even happen. It's my heart that lost this fight. I'm weak because I realized that I'm wrong and accepted that he's right. I've only lost on that front. Because... bullcrap!
Nani?
Because my body has been protesting that it won't lose to you. Why else? Why else would it get stronger every time you dismissed my ideals as fake? Shut up! That's a load of bullcrap! I can reach him. I know I can. If my weapons are broken, I'll just use them as they are. If everything I have is broken, then I'll mobilize everything I don't have. If I haven't lost, then there are depths I still have yet to reach. My headache throbs again. For an instant, I see his scenery, probably for the last time. I can't understand him, but I think I can learn from his pain. He's a hero whose incantations express and judge himself. Right now, I can't understand the will behind those words, but I'll accept them in your place. My body. I chant the verse aloud and proud. Emiya's own words hurt him. He accepted that and chose to kill me. That's all he wanted at the end of his long journey. Then, just as you deny me, I'll strike you down. It's the last thing I do! My body is made of swords. I am the bone of my sword. I whisper without thinking. I look up. On the verge of death, I stand up to him. I swallow a glob of blood that was blocking my throat. The once-fading Yang sword, Kancho, is cloaked in a concrete image once more.
Kisama mada.
That's right. You say this is a dream? I've always known that. But I've kept believing in it because I think it's right. I followed in Kiritsuga's footsteps because it's a dream that won't come true and is an impossible ideal. Even if it never comes true. If I keep running, I'll get close to it one day.
そうか。彼女の鞘。契約が切れたところで、その死後は続いている。
I ready my sword. I don't care about that. Right now, I won't lose to you. I can lose to anyone else. But I'll never lose to myself. Need to keep being Shirou Emiya until the very end. It's an unbelievable fight between swords. He charges in despite being fully wounded. His fingers are broken, his limbs shredded. He hasn't even realized that he's not breathing anymore. The speed is insignificant, and the blows he delivers are mediocre. He may have absorbed Archer's knowledge and advanced to a point where he can fight him, but he's back to being a boy again. He executes a haphazard, mediocre attack, and yet, that first blow is heavier than any of the other attacks before. Apathy turns to astonishment. His sword seems to shout. The boy swings a long sword faster than his opponent ever imagined. Where is this power coming from? The vigor of their clash reaches an unprecedented pitch.
貴様
The man can't even pivot to defense. Each attack is lethal enough to take his head. He judges that this situation must be taken seriously and moves his swords accordingly. Up and down, left and right. The 4 slashes unleashed in an instant are enough to cut the body of the boy to ribbons. But he blocks them. No, the boy launches a bladed tempest that overcomes the fourfold technique. He wields his longsword with swift skill.
こいつ
The man senses that he must attack or be cut down. The longsword assails his denying enemy. The boy swings his swords foolhardily. The two sides struggle. Sparks fill the air, declaring that any who enter the ring will be torn apart. But this should be the dying spark of a walking corpse. With each attack, the boy's breathing becomes more labored as he looks closer to collapse, but he takes another step and attacks again. Having seen this, the man is sure of something. His enemy doesn't have any strength left. The boy in front of him is a walking corpse. And yet why does the boy continue to wield the sword as if he has an infinite strength? He isn't conscious of it. He doesn't know what his opponent is doing, nor can he tell if his attacks are working. He cries out, his muscles begging for oxygen. They demand that he stop due to a lack of blood. And he pushes through it all with brute force. Mistake. Only one thought occupies his mind. His feelings are fake. Just like this guy says, he probably can't become a hero of justice. As long as Shirou Emiya looks up to that goal, he'll reach the same destination as the man before. Not a mistake! But he felt that it was beautiful. He knows that it's hypocritical to value others over himself. And still, he longed for such a life, wondering how nice it would be to live that way. It's the only motivation driving his body forward on the verge of death. He can't hear what his enemy is saying. It speaks to how fierce the clash is, and how meek his voice is. Looking closer, the boy's hand gripping the sword have melted with the hilt. The boy's hands gripping the sword have melted with the hilt. He must have done something. He must have done it to secure the sword, but by doing that, he will directly feel the impact from the sword. He's bloody, as if he takes a single step back, he'll pitch over. The boys accepted that each swing of his sword will be suffering. It irritates the man, but he takes it. It seems to offend his stubbornly persistent enemy, but he's just as irritated with himself for not backing down when he knows that even one step back would end this. But how can he retreat now? There's no room for parley now, and he's in a pitched duel with his enemy. It would be shameful to turn his back to the childishly forged sword, and it would be utterly humiliating not to meet the attacks head on. All it would take for his enemy to destroy himself is for the man to retreat one step. But he senses that he'll have conceded something decisive if he backs down now. Soon this worry will fade. His enemy is at his limits. 3 more attacks. If he repels just 3 attacks, then his enemy will destroy himself. He clicks his tongue at his own foolishness. Just earlier, he thought the boy had 2 attacks left. Then he delivered more than 10. The boy isn't going to fall. The boy's voice is inaudible. The boy who's on the brink of death frantically goes up against the obstacle before him. And then he sees him. He looks upon him with his own eyes for the first time. I keep swinging my sword until I reach my foe, with arms ready to fall off. The only thing that can be heard is a strained yell. Mistake. That shout is the price I paid for each exchange of blows. There are people who weren't saved, and myself who wasn't saved. The memories come unbidden, and I swore that I'd never let this happen again. Not a mistake! How many years have passed? There were things that were lost. Things I lost. There will always be things that I forget and fail to pick up. That's why I made an oath I won't forget. To become a hero of justice. To always do what's right. Even if it isn't my own wish. Even if it's just a way to lighten my own sins. I'll keep that oath. I'll make the dream come true. When I was young, someone saved me, entrusted me with this dream, and passed away alone. I believe in the wish behind his words. Even if the whole world shuns me and the oath turns out to be a curse, I won't give it up! And then the man realizes that there is no end to this repeating conflict. This enemy will not stop. The enemy will not stop on his own. His enemy makes each attack with desperate abandon, but he isn't even aware of who he's fighting. The boy is trying to cut down himself. He is the one who is doing the obstructing. The man's enemy is swinging his sword for everything he's believed in, and everything he'll continue to believe in. Realizing that, the man gnashes his teeth. He sees the boy keep fighting, even if he knows he can't win, even if he knows there's no point. That is the exact mistake the man once made. So why? Why does he want to see how far this boy will go?
そこまでだ。消えろ!
He raises his long sword. The enemy's attack can no longer be trifled with. He repels to the attacks and counters with a strike meant to crush the enemy's skull with certainty. The high-pitched sound of metal. The boy repels what should have been a decisive blow. He couldn't even stop one attack until now, but he easily defended against a strike delivered with the man's full might. He holds his breath. The enemy flicks his sword and resheaths it in a single large stance. But his eyes, they're looking straight at him. The impact breaks one of my limbs. My sense of pain isn't numb at all. The pain is enough to knock me out, but I push through it with sheer rage. I'm dehydrated. I can't afford to lose any more liquid. The enemy's left arm is wide open. I've lost one side of my body, so this will have to be the last blow. But that thought doesn't enter my head. All I can think is... He slashes with the longsword in an effort to protect his exposed left chest. He can make it. It would be easy to close the distance. This is my last chance. It wasn't a mistake! That's the only thought on my mind. Even if Shirou Emiya is a fake, this is real. He wants everyone to be happy. It's an ideal that everyone's felt, I'm sure. So I won't take it back, because this dream will always be. His gaze is straight. Mistakes and lies. He shakes off everything that pierces him, and he continues to run without stopping. It was never a mistake! The word drives straight into his chest. The attack comes fueled by all manner of determination. There's enough time to block it, but the gears never turn in his head, and the battle draws to an abrupt close. Stab. He hears the sound of the blade piercing his chest. The surprised one is, of course, the Red Knight. The boy bet everything on a desperate attack, so he would expect it to defeat his opponent. He couldn't afford to make any other choice anyway. So it is the knight who is surprised. Truly, he wonders why he didn't defend against an attack that would have been easy to stop. I'm about to collapse, so I lean in on my good right leg. I drove Concho into Archer's chest.
Archer. なぜ?
Has she been watching the whole time? Saber asks a question from the entrance to the hall. Archer doesn't answer. Maybe he felt that he doesn't need to, or maybe he doesn't have an answer for her. My fingers feel numb. My broken fingers tell me that they can't hold a sword anymore. The Red Knight doesn't move. I might have stabbed him through the chest, but he's a servant, so he could easily counterattack. But his arms remain at his sides and show no sign of movement. I know what that means, of course. I win, Archer. I fix my gaze on him and declare victory. The Red Knight closes his eyes once and admits.
そして私の敗北だ。
I kind of like how they have matching hairstyles in this pose. He stares into the distance. His murmur sounds like it was meant to convince himself. pull out the sword. The moment my projected sword touches the air, it disperses into dust as if it never existed. I finally look around, my tension drained. What a wreck. My lacerations look like they're on the mend, but in some places, they're turning into a reddish-black color. Archer said something about it being Saber's sheath, but I wonder how it decides what to heal first. It heals the cuts right away, but broken bones seem to be a lower priority. Oh, I hear hurried footsteps coming from the west side of the hall, and the direction Lancer disappeared off to. Someone's coming. She appears on the second-story terrace, jumps down to the hall floor without hesitating. Hugs herself from the pain of the fall.
シロ、無事あーちゃん、あんたその傷どうしちゃったのよ。
Tosaka raises her voice to match the distress with which she arrived. Lancer rescued her, just as promised. Plus, I'm honestly amazed to see Tosaka alive and well. She can't decide if she wants to check if I'm okay or be upset at Archer for getting injured.
まったくつくづく甘い。彼女がもう少し非道な人間なら、私もかつての自分になど戻らなかったもの。
The Red Knight's words are sarcastic, but I can only hear warmth behind them. After giving Tosaka a look, he turns on his heel as if to leave the stage.
ともあれ、決着はついた。お前を認めてしまった以上、エミヤなどという英雄はここにはいられん。敗者は早々に立ち去るとしよ
う。He isn't even going to say goodbye to Tosaka? He's heavily wounded and he doesn't have a master. Is he going to disappear here and return to where the other heroic spirits come? Huh? It all happened in an instant. A lethal attack just as I began to relax around Tosaka. Multiple swords rain down. The torrent of blades come down to skewer me as I stand around spacing out. I hit the ground. Someone pushes me and I fall backwards onto some rubble. I was shoved about a meter away. From where I am, I can only watch. My broken limbs can't support my body, and I'm too weak to even stand up. Instead, all I can do is watch another version of me get skewered before my very eyes.
何者?
Saber's challenge breaks the silence. Her voice is directed at the second floor, at the top of the broken stairs.
楽しませてもらったぞ。偽物同士。実にくだらない戦いだった。
貴様。
10年ぶりだな、セイバー。お前とはもう少し早く顔合わせをする気であったが、予定が変わった。予想外の事故ばかり起きてな。俺の思惑とはずれてきてしまった。
And of course his appearance comes with boss music. It's Gilgamesh, the servant who defeated Berserker and killed Elia. He ignores Saber's glare and looks down at me and Archer.
さて、理解したか？それが本物の重みというものだ。いかに形を似せ力を似せようが、所詮は作り物。本物の輝きには及ばない。
He raises a hand, as if about to command an army.
偽物が作り上げた贋作など見るのも汚らわしい。クズめ、貴様らのうちには何一つ新作が存在せぬ。他人の真似事だけで出来上がった偽物は解くゴミになるがいい。
He unleashes countless noble phantasms into the hall. An unavoidable torrent falls on us. I count just under 30 noble phantasms. Even if I was still in one piece, there's nothing I could do to defend myself against this assault. Dust fills the air. The hall collapses even further, rocked by explosions. In the middle of it all, I see him. A fluttering red cloak. He runs toward me looking like a pincushion and gives me another shove. I watch his red figure fade into the distance. His eyes convey a firm message. You defeat him. He tells me that since he lost to me and I'm going to live. He tells me that since he lost to me and I'm going to become the hero of justice, this is a villain I have to defeat. A cloud of dust blocks out my vision. The red cloak sinks into the rubble. I'm sure I saw him before he left. His confident eyes declare, this servant is no match for us. It won't be Saber or Tosaka who defeats him. My other self is telling me that Shirou Emiya is the Golden Servant's natural enemy. My vision clears up. A layer of dust settles over the hall, now covered in a new layer of rubble. Nothing else happens. The Red Knight disappeared after he was buried under the rubble.
ほう、驚いたぞアーチャー。あの傷で他人を救う余裕があったとはな。
His tone is filled with derision and irony. The man's lips curl into a smirk. He looks down at Archer's bloody remains. Silence falls. Gilgamesh is the strongest being in this place now. One wrong move and we'll follow Archer. Saber's lips are tightly sealed. She's watching for a chance to face the enemy. However,
この誰に断って私のあーちゃんに手を出してんのよ。
Tosaka loses her temper after losing Archer. Light flies through the air. Tosaka charges a jewel with as much energy as she can and fires pure destructive energy without any modifications. Gilgamesh doesn't even try to dodge. The attack doesn't leave a scratch on him.
死に損ないを先にするつもりだったのだが、順序が変わったな、女。
The swords floating behind him sentence Tosaka to death. They hurtle toward her at high speed, but Saber arrives even faster to deflect them, protecting her master.
セイバー。
リン、下がって。あの男は危険だ。手を出せば殺されます。
ほう、今のマスターはその小娘か。よかろう。ならば今の無礼は不問に付す。お前を失っては楽しみが減るからな。
Saber just glares up at our enemy, her invisible sword at the ready.
なぜここにいるアーチャー。オウミは前回の聖杯戦争で呼ばれたサーバント。そのあなたがなぜ今回も限界している。
なぜも何もあるまい。前回の戦いが終わった後、我は消えずに。
そんなバカな。サーバントは聖杯が消えた時点でこの世との接点をなくすはずだ。ならば
そうでもないぞ。もとよりこの世との接点は聖杯ではなくよりしろとなったマスターだ。聖杯はあくまで道を通したに過ぎん。聖杯が消えた後も魔術師が魔力を提供し続ければこの世にはとどまれる。もっとも聖杯の助力なしでサーバントを維持できるマスターなどそうはいないがな。その点で言えば俺のよりしろは魔力不足ではあった。
ならばどちらにせよあなたがとどまれるはずがない。サーバントを持つことにマスターが耐えられないならあなたは召喚者ともども枯渇しているはずだ。
それもやりようであろう。魔術回路が少なければ知識で補うのが魔術師という輩だ。その点で言えば俺のマスターはなかなかに筋金の入った男だった。
Past tense? So his master is no longer alive? No, Shinji was his master. The fact that the ungovernable Gilgamesh was following Shinji's orders was proof enough of that.
ではあなたのマスターは ライダーのマスターと同じように。
ああ、事故で補えなければ他人から奪うのは当然だろう。だが実を言えばそのような手間もいらなかったのだがな。俺は聖杯を浴びた唯一のサーバントだ。この時代における受肉など10年前に済ませている。
Saber stares at him in shock. The mention of 10 years ago seems to pain her.
そう、お前のおかげだぞセイバー。あれが何であるか我は誰よりも熟知している。何しろその新欲をぶちまけられ中にあるものを見たのだからな。
ではあの時あなたは。
ああ、聖杯の正体を理解した。その時に決めた。あれは俺だけが扱うとな。
He speaks to Saber. No, the Golden Servant's decree is directed at all of us.
聖杯をあなたが。
そう、マスターなどという寄生動物に分け与えてやる義理もあるまい。俺は俺の目的のために聖杯を使おう。その最大の障害であった召喚者も先ほど消えた。残ったものはより代にもならぬ魔術師もどきだけだ。俺の望みにはそのなり損ないこそがふさわしい。もっともお前の肉ならばあるいは完全な聖杯が出来上がるやもしれんが、さて。
The man eyes Tosaka. Tosaka shrinks away and goes a little pale, realizing how dangerous he is. His red eyes are ominous beyond comparison. Anyone would feel intensely uncomfortable under their gaze. His eyes are so bizarre that they even scare the unflappable Tosaka.
バカな。聖杯はマスターが得るものだ。我らサーバントでは得られないからこそマスターに協力するのだろう。
それこそがおかしな話だ。聖杯に触れられるのはサーバントだけでありながら聖杯を得られるのはマスターだけだというのか。
しかしそれは
全てはくだらぬざれ言だ。7人のマスターによる聖杯の奪い合い、最後の一人となったマスターのみが聖杯を得る儀式だと。そんなものはただの隠れ蓑に過ぎん。もとより聖杯の恒例など済んでいる。連中は毎回聖杯を用意してから7人のサーバントを呼ぶ。わかるか騎士よ。連中が必要としたのは聖杯ではなくその中に入るものだ。マスターなど元は我らを呼ぶためだけの回路に過ぎん。魔術師どもはな、聖杯を作りはしたがその中身を用意できなかった。先ほども言っただろ。事故で補えないのならよそから奪ってくるのが奴らだと。聖杯を満たす最高純度の魔力、守護者とも言える霊長最強の魂こそが奴らが求めたものだ。7人のサーバントとはな、もともと聖杯にくべられる生贄のことらしいぞ。
Saber stares at him in shock. Her eyes try to deny his words. It can't be true. The Holy Grail I sought can't be something this abhorrent, she seems to be telling herself.
驚くことはあるまい。聖杯は魂という本人でなければ制御できぬ力を純粋な魔力に返すろ過器だ。ああ、確かにそれならば願いは叶おう。魔術師どもにとっては永遠に使い切れぬ魔力量だろうからな。故に生贄は多ければ多いほどよい。6人ものサーバントをくべればそれは万能と言えるだろう。聖杯が汲み取ったサーバントは5人。奴らが目指した万能の釜まではあと1人分で十分だ。
and another, and one more after that to turn it into a gateway to the roots.
それではやはり聖杯はマスターにしか扱えない。聖杯が純粋な魔力の貯蔵庫だというのなら、扱えるのは魔術師だけだ。そうだ。持ち主となるマスターさえ優れた術者ならきっと。
あらゆる願いを叶えられるか。たわけ、人間風情にそのような奇跡は与えられん。どれほど強大な力を持とうと自滅するのが人間というものだ。だが安心しろセイバー、この聖杯は本物だ。きちんと7人分の英霊を組み込めば必ず原初に到達する。
原初？ちょっと待った。じゃあ聖杯ってまさか。
何者かは知らんが、最初にこのルールを敷いた者は間違いなく神域の天才だろうよ。まあしかし俺には関係のない話ではある。俺はそんなものに興味はない。あるのは聖杯の門としての能力だけだ。
聖杯が門だと。
10年前だセイバー。あと一歩で聖杯を手に入れるという時、俺はお前に阻まれた。聖杯は聖剣によって両断され、こぼれ落ちた者は炎となって町を焼き払った。聖杯の真下にいた俺は当然その本流を一身に浴びたのだ。その時に聖杯の正体を知った。実にくだらぬが使い道はある。数ある兵器の中でもあれほど殺人に特化したものはあるまい。あれはあのままでいい。万能の釜になどする必要はない。
兵器、聖杯がサーバントを持って生み出すものが兵器だというのか、アーチャー。
もともと我らとて兵器だろう。あれはそれを突き詰めたものに過ぎん。聖杯とは地獄の門。一度開けば中からは56億もの呪いが溢れ出す。琴峰は言っていなかった。聖杯の名はアンリマユ。その名の通り全ての人間を食い潰す終わりの泥だと。
Remind If I recall correctly, that's the name of a devil from Zoroastrianism. It's said to be the ruler of evil who has been fighting the gods for thousands of years. It's depicted as an embodiment of all of humanity's malice, to be a reflection of humanity's goodwill. So why is the Holy Grail named after some ancient Persian demon?
ではあなたの目的は
そう一層だ。俺は琴峰のように人間をめでようと努める気はない。めでるべきは美しいものだけだ。この世界は楽しいがな、同様にどしがたい。凡白の雑種が生を謳歌するなど王に対する冒涜だ。それでは治める気にもなれん。
バカじゃないのあんた。何が王に対する冒涜よ。人間が一人もいなくなったらそれこそ王様の意味なんてないじゃない。
死に絶えるのならばそれでよい。自らの罪で消え去るのなら生きる価値などはあるまい。俺が欲しいものは雑種ではない。地獄の中ですら生き延びられる者にこそ支配される価値がある。その点で言えば前回のは落第だったな。あの程度の火で死に絶えるなど今の人間は弱すぎる。
His lips curve up in a smile. For the first time, he looked at me, one of the failures.
この世すべての悪とやらが何者であるかは知らん。だが都合が良いだろう。すべての人間に等しく落ちる死の咎。人より生まれた人だけを殺す底なしの闇。 本来俺がすべき仕事を任せるにはふさわしい猟犬だ。
Gilgamesh raises an arm. Noble phantasms float at the ready behind him, awaiting his command.
では10年前の続きといこう。あの時はくだらぬゴミが混ざったが、こたびはあのようなゴミはおらん。もっともそれ以上にタチが悪いクズが混ざっているようだが。
All of the swords turn to point at me. I try to stand up, but my broken leg won't move the way I want it to. Crap! I can't even block a single one of those swords. Then why did Archer entrust his will to me? The swords disappear. The golden servant suddenly puts down his arm. He looks at the ceiling with displeasure and brushes something from his shoulder.
すすで汚れる。命拾いしたな、小僧。
Huh? The castle's on fire. I don't know who set it alight, but it seems like a pretty intense blaze. The third floor is already surrounded by flames, and they've reached the second floor. No, that's not what I should be surprised about. He really decided not to fight because his clothes got dirty.
逃げるのですか、アーチャー。
場所を変えるだけだ、セイバー。聖杯は俺の手にある。ことは迅速に済ますのが俺の方針だからな。早々に聖杯を作り、地獄の穴を開けてやろう。
His blonde hair flutters. Gilgamesh walks toward a terrace that isn't on fire.
取り戻したければ早めにしろ。何しろ今回の聖杯は急増の欠陥品だ。急がなければ中身がすべてこぼれてしまうぞ。
His muffled laughter echoes. Then he leaves the burning castle. Sparks have started to dance around the great hall, and the ceiling is crumbling by the second. The formerly ornate castle doesn't resemble itself anymore. Its master gone. It crumbles away without a trace, as if to follow the pale girl. Interlude. Yeah, we're gonna have I'm gonna have to stop it here and call it a night. Hope you guys are enjoying it so far. So let me know what you think, and I'll try and start this again sooner, and have a great night.